Greetings, and thank you for inviting me to share today a statement from the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival. My name is Minister Savina Martin. I live in Massachusetts. I serve as one of the statewide tri-chairs in the Massachusetts Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival. I'm also a member of the Cairo Center for Religion, Rights, and Social Justice at Union Theological Seminary in New York City, and I sit on the Clergy Council of the National Union of the Homeless. What a year we witnessed in 2020, and here we are 18 days into the new year of 2021 to commemorate and memorialize the work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and here we are on the edge of the transition of power of a new U.S. president and finding ourselves living in dark, perilous, and unprecedented times. The Poor People's Campaign witnessed with heavy hearts the events that took place of January 6th, when a mob emboldened by hate, lies, and racism laid siege on the U.S. Capitol and other state capitals across the country in an attempt to subvert our democracy. Let me share with you our national statement. As a state-based national movement that has nonviolently protested at state capitals and the U.S. Capitol, calling out policy violence and pushing for a just moral agenda for and with poor low-income people, moral leaders, activists, and organizers across race, geography, issue, area, and other lines of division, we must point out that, number one, this did not just happen. For years, extremist politicians who call themselves Republicans have sown the winds of division and lies. Now the country is reaping the whirlwind of chaos. We call on our lawmakers and justice system to hold Trump, senators, congresspersons, and all elected and appointed officials who had a role in these heinous attacks accountable for their actions swiftly and to the full extent of the law. 2, these politicians found time and resource to plan, support, and continue an attack on democracy even after it turned deadly, but have not found time and resources to expand health care, enact a just stimulus, raise wages, or protect the people they are called to serve. 3, they push the people into a rage-rooted racism, but have refused to push efforts at address systemic racism. 4, they are responsible for the 5 deaths that occurred in the attack, but their policy inaction is also in large part responsible for the inept response to COVID-19 that has caused nearly 400,000 deaths. 5, they have spent more time lying to the people than lifting the people, especially the least of these in this nation. Such violence always erupts when there is the greatest possibility for change. Throughout history, Native and Indigenous people have seen this kind of mob violence. Black people have seen it, women have seen it, Asians have seen it, Latina farm workers have seen it, workers standing for labor rights have seen it. What we saw this week is not the dream of America, but it has too often been the practice of America. The violence we witness is a reaction to record turnout of people of every race, income, religion, sexuality, creed, and conviction who voted for candidates that pledged to expand health care, raise wages, address systemic racism and poverty in the general election and Georgia runoff. It took place as we witnessed cracks in the Southern strategy, which has kept people divided by race for decades. This was an assault rooted in a refusal to believe the legitimacy of an election where people of color and poor and low-wealth people united to vote out extremist president and Senate majority. Lastly, we must not confuse a failed attempt to subvert democracy with popular uprisings to reclaim government for the people. This riot exposes the MAGA movement as a fake populism that serves elites. It is a mistake to scapegoat poor people, especially people that are poor white people, for what happened on January 6, 2021. Press reports of the rioters included business owners, executives, and multimillionaires. At a time when something new is breaking through the hate, we cannot let this stop the growth of a moral fusion movement. The Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival, is committed to continuing to build a fusion movement that brings the 140 million poor and low-income people of this country together across lines of division, race, and other historic divisions. This is what will protect our democracy and democratic institutions and build a stronger nation. In Massachusetts, the Poor People's Campaign implores you to join in, to register. We can be found on our national webpage at www.poorpeoplescampaign.org. You may contact us at our email address, massachusetts@poorpeoplescampaign.org. And as we say in the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival, forward together and not one step back. And we are representing here our Reverend Dr. William J. Barber II, and who is President of Repairers of the Breach, as well as our co-chair, Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival, the Reverend Dr. Liz Theo Harris, Director of the Cairo Center for Religions, Rights, and Social Justice, and also Tri-Chair of the Massachusetts Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival, the Minister Savina Martin, Vaughn Allen Goodwin of 1199 SEIU. Thank you, and please join us very soon.